Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I've got a special guest, FIE, three-time Olympic referee, Derek Cotton. Derek, we've been friends for years. I'm really excited to hang out with you.
Decades.
And take a look. Decades. Thank you. And I'm excited to hang out with you and watch a couple of the bad boy foilists go at it. There's certainly a rivalry between Andrea Cassara and Miles Chamley-Watson. But first, tell me a little bit about, give me your resume, man. Olympics, World Cups. When did you start being an international referee?
Sure. Forever ago, Ted. Thanks for having me. 1994, I got my international license, and I've been a three-weapon international referee since then. So that's a long time, I guess. And then, I was, honored enough to be asked to serve and elected to the Arbitrage Commission in 2008. So I served for that quad from 2008 to 2012 as the representative from basically our zone on that commission, and that was a fantastic experience.
What was the coolest Olympics? Like from
Sydney.
the spectators, Sydney was the one.
Sydney, bar none. And I went to London, I went to Athens, Atlanta, and even, as you will soon see, Los Angeles. But Sydney was cool. The atmosphere is fantastic. Everything came off like a dream. I mean, the Australians spared no expense, and the people were great to everybody who was there for the Olympic Games. So for me, Sydney's always going to hold a special place in my heart.
I bet just like super cool people, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. In Australia. Just amazing, yeah. Ted. I mean, amazing. I mean, Athens had history, and that was great, but Sydney really had everything like you would want from the Games.
Talk to me a little bit about Seoul, Korea. You told me you were watching Valentina Vasali.
Sure.
I mean, she just learned it then.
So I'm there, exactly. So Valentina's already won, I don't know how many World Cups. I don't know how many Olympic medals, right? Maybe 8 Olympic medals, most of them gold. She probably throws the silver one away, right? And so I'm there as an arbitrage rep, and I'm also a coach. So I'm always looking at other people's lessons to see what I can get. And Valentina's going to take a lesson. I'm like, oh, fantastic, because I coach a lot of women. So let me see what they're going to work on. And so I sit there for about 10 minutes. And the entire time I sit there, Valentina's working on parry 4 and repost without moving. No steps, no lunge, no disengage, nothing. Opposition 4, repost. And then they'd sit there and opposition 4 and repost. And they'd shake their head and say, not quite. Parry 4 and repost. Parry 4 and repost. Then they talk about why it wasn't right. And I was like, okay, well, they got to get to something, right? They're just warming up. All of a sudden I get called away. There's a problem on a piece with video, everything else. I go over, I handle that. It's 5 to 10 minutes. I come back and I'm like, all right, I probably missed a lot of the setup for the lesson, but maybe I can still get some nuggets. I come back and I sit down, and Valentina's in the exact same place. And she's making parry 4, opposition, and repost. And they do that about 50 more times, Ted. And then finally she gets one, which to me looks exactly like the hundreds of others I've seen. And they both laugh and high five. And they're like, yes, that's the one. And then they go back and do it another 20, 30 times. And that's the entire lesson. The lesson ended. And after 25 minutes, she hadn't done anything but 4 reposts. And I was like, the focus and the determination and the dedication, the attention to detail, I was like, okay, that's how you go ahead and you win however many world championships, however many World Cups, however many world Olympic medals, is because you have that type of hyper-focused attention to the details. And that was what I took away from Valentina that day.
Yeah, there has to be that little sliver in your mind that just irritates you. You don't get it just quite right. And that's the kind of the people that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
I always felt that too. I always felt that. Like, can I just get it just right? It just comes with a little bit of anger. Hey, buddy, I on the show. I always like to kind of have a mug or a cup or something to show off. So today, I've got my favorite one. I've got my Daddy Shark mug. And then there's little baby sharks. That's Lily. And then Teddy over there.
That's great.
I like that one. We nerd out pretty hard. Daddy Shark, Mama Shark, and I got everybody the shirts, right? So there's like a lily shark and a teddy shark, and then we just walk around the safari park and everyone.
I want to see you at Legoland with that.
Oh, it's perfect. What
So
do you got there?
my
What's your
mug,
mug?
speaking of Olympic Games, I have the 1984 Sam, the Olympic fencing eagle
Huh?
mug. That is the logo and the mascot from the 84 Olympics. So I decided to pull that one out today and have my tea.
There
Glad
you
to be with
go.
you.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, well, hey, let's get rolling. We're gonna flip over and go bring up that video. If you want to grab this video, guys, you can search for it. Just type in Kasara, Chamley, and Cairo. You could try it like that. It's from 2019. And we're going to skip to the second minute. Derek, ready? Let's do this.
I'm ready. Ready?
Okay, do it. And we're going to start now.
Great. So some interesting things about the bout that I thought would make worthwhile is you watch the way Kasara fences. He should be a nightmare. He's like 6'3", left-handed, and he's fast. But he does the same thing every time. If you watch when he comes forward, his hand is never moving forward. It's always in preparation. And so Miles thinks there's a good opportunity to take advantage of that when he comes forward. Unfortunately, Miles doesn't always get the right timing in this bout. And that's what some fencers don't understand, is that there is always, each bout is individual. And even though you might see the error and the fault that in your opponent's actions, you have to do the right action at the right time to take advantage of it. And Miles doesn't do it in this bout. It's a good bout, though.
And the right distance, right? It seems like there's always, Kasara gets the priority. He always has a little pullback with the arm, and then he's going to finish with a flick or finish to the flank or something. It's just impossible to parry.
I mean, like I said, he's one of the hardest guys to ref, and he's got to be a nightmare to fence when he's on. I mean, tall, fast, left-handed, with a good hand. I mean, he would be my worst nightmare. And that was the action right there. So Kasara's like, what did I do wrong? And he's like, well, you did the same thing you do all the time. You come forward with no arm, and Miles went and he hit. Now, if Miles could take advantage of that more often, he'd have more success in this bout. And one thing about these two, if you're a ref, they're always challenging. They challenge every touch. They're back and forth. Why this? Why that? Why can't I get this touch? There's a lot of pressure on as a referee.
Have you
get every call?
Have you experienced refereeing a match like this in a high pressure situation?
Oh yeah, these two. I've ref these two before, and it's challenging. And neither wants to accept that they did anything wrong. Probably the hardest bout I ever did was a women's foil bout between Romanian and an Italian. And the Romanian liked to make half retreat and advance lunge, and the Italian made an attack with her arm back. And so it just depended on if the Italian started that extension before the advanced lunge started, or if she waited a second. And it was so tight. Every touch was like, I mean, it was an amazing bout at the highest level. And I don't even remember who won. I just remember thinking, I have to separate these. I have to separate them. And it was incredibly hard. It was before video.
Yeah. Did you find yourself in moments where you said, man, am I going to go with the hand or the foot here? And then did you kind of just have to like say, well, the last time I called it a little better for the foot, so I better just stick with that?
Well, as a referee, you know what, if you're a good referee, you have your opinion as to what an attack is versus what's not an attack. And you're sitting there and you watch an action. You're like, okay, I called it for the right. And then the very next action, the one on the right doesn't do the action as well. And so then you're saying, well, I still think that's an attack, but I still would normally call it for you, but you messed up in the middle. But the fencer never thinks they actually messed up. If they turn a light on, they think, hey, I did it perfectly. And you have to explain why you gave it to the other person. And then the very next touch, you might go back to your original assessment because the fencer executed better. And you sound wishy-washy. But if you were to watch the video I believe you'd see that the fencers aren't executing their actions in the exact same way. And so watch Cassara come forward here, arm back, right? Mm-hmm. That's the same preparation every time. So as a referee, you should know that in the first step, Cassara almost never brings his arm out. Ready, fence, so back, back, back. And he's looking, he's waiting. He's waiting to make that parry, that second intention. If you go straight right there, he's going to pick it up. These bouts are incredibly hard to do. And, you know, this referee does a fantastic job. And there's, luckily he has video for a couple of calls, but these bouts are incredibly trying.
Certainly the refereeing has got a little more consistent now. There's video. It's a little easier.
Yeah, I think so. And also there's pretty intensive training. So remember, I said he's not going to move his arm. There it is again, right? So everybody, like when you're watching this, all fencers have habits. They have trends. They have things that they do and they don't do. No matter how great you are, there are things that you don't do well. But right now, ready, fence, you can see his arm's not moving forward at all. In fact, it's moving back as he looks for the blade. That's probably, with this great camera angle, it's probably the 5th or 6th time you've seen that. Well, there have been 13 touches. If he does it half the time, that's a trend, right?
Right.
There it is again. All right. So, I mean, as you're sitting and you're watching the video and you're watching the actions, understand that even if he were to lunge after that, there's no progression in the arm. The referee sees these things. And if you do it enough, the referee starts to believe that you can't bring your arm out. It could even be a bias against you when you do bring it out, because the ref will say, I haven't seen it for so long. But as a fencer, you have an opportunity to take parry or post. If the ref doesn't call it against you, then you have an opportunity to take a quick parry or post and do second intention. It's what we call 2 for 1, right?
I was just going to say that. Yeah, you taught me that, right? That phrase. Yeah.
You come forward and you can make an attack. I think I stole that from Bucky Leach, right? I mean, as I told you, all fencers, all coaches, we borrow from others. And he's coming forward, and if you don't go, he gets to finish. If you do go, he gets to make parry or post because he's not committed to the attack.
Right.
And these guys, they score touches in bunches. Neither of them waits. There's tactics, but it's more like a saber bout where they're right now, Miles knows what he wants to do on this touch. And so the actions are happening. One, bam, 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 right on top of each other.
Yeah, it turns into a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors match.
Mm-hmm. Now you see Cassara's, he's baffled. First he didn't hit, but he doesn't understand why he wouldn't get that as a simultaneous. But as I've told you over and over again, he doesn't move his arm on the first step, right? So that's why he won't get it.
Doesn't stop him from arguing for it.
Every single time. Every single time.
Derek, what's your timestamp?
I am at 9:39.
Perfect.
Miles thinks he makes parry and counter riposte on this one. And in real speed, it kind of looked like he did. But the ref goes back and he confers with the other ref and watches the video. And he stands with his call, which means I must not be seeing something. There's always something when you're watching videos and you don't understand the call. Sometimes you just have to chalk it up to, no.
Look at this.
Oh, I love that one. He literally doesn't understand that his arm's not going anyplace. And the ref has told him over and over again that you're not really attacking. And so Miles took advantage of it that time. And
yeah, I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting for the feint time. I've been waiting for, like, you get your arm out and just lunge hard.
Oh, it's just so hard, right? I mean, to execute at the right time and everything else, it's just such a challenging action to do. But you're right. It's there. Remember, this guy's a beast. As an athletic guy, he's amazing. So it's hard to take advantage of it all the time.
Yeah. Chamley Watson is an interesting guy to me. The first Grand Prix I went to was in Turin, Italy, and I was all, I was kind of excited to watch him fence. I was excited to watch, race fence. And Chamley didn't make it out of the pools. He was actually seated like, I don't know, nearly DFL, dead last, out of out of pools. I was like, what? And I see a fencer who's incredibly athletic and talented, all that yada yada yada, has a lot of fun with the flicks. But I just wonder what is going on sometimes. If he's like not training, like he's too cool to train, or it has such a bad event, and then wins the world championships. I have no idea what is going on out there on the East Coast.
Miles works really hard, and is incredibly prepared. But a lot of times Miles fences on feeling, right? And if he's not feeling it, he doesn't do well. But I'll tell you this, like even if he went out in that first round in DFL, there's not a guy I'd rather have on my team competition than Miles. Like he is unbelievable in the team, and probably is the reason that we medal where we do in Rio, because of his performance there. He's amazing in team. And I have no other words to say but that. Amazing. And it's consistent. It's not like fluke. There's a switch that turns in team, and he turns into that guy. But sometimes individuals, you're right.
Well, team's more fun. I think you have a little bit less chance to get inside your own head. Everybody's cheering for each other, and bouncing tactics off of each other.
Yeah. And you're fencing for. Oh, that's such a great touch right there.
So hot, yeah, but
it's such a great touch, and they're not going to get it to him. But oh my, so creative. There have been some times as a referee, Ted, I will share with you that I've seen touches that have made me go, wow, before I make a call. Right? There aren't many, but I'll tell you, there have been times when first of all, as a ref, you got the best seat in the house, and you're sitting there and you see this action and you are like, that was amazing. And even before you make the call, you're like, woohoo! And you're like, oh, sorry, I got to make a call.
Yeah, you can't look unprofessional.
Yeah, I mean, it's done then because you've already celebrated. So that was a nice attack. And then, of course, because there's a huge rivalry between the two and no love lost. You think they go to Thanksgiving dinner with each other, Ted?
Oh my gosh. It's almost the most fun watching them like after the bout's over and see what's going to happen.
One thing I hope everybody takes from that bout is that all fencers have trends. If you're a fencer, you can take advantage of those trends. If you're a referee, you should notice those trends. That's your job, is to notice the trends and to see how the other person starts to take advantage of them. In this bout, you could see the trend from Cassara. I prepare on my first step. I prepare on my first step. I prepare on my first step. And then the question from Miles was, could he take advantage of that? There were probably 4 actions here where he took advantage of Cassara's preparation. What you very rarely see Miles do is go straight and hard simultaneous. And that's because Cassara's waiting for him. So as a strategic element to the bout, every time you're watching these bouts, try to throw away, did the referee make the right call? Because you don't hear the blades as well. You're not 4 or 5 feet from the action like the referee. You don't understand the strategy and this referee's bias towards attack versus counterattack. Throw all did the ref make the right call out, and try to look at the bout in its totality and say, was the ref consistent in how the ref called right of way? Okay, that's all you can ask for, in my opinion. But if you're a fencer, you start to watch these things, you say, okay, I see patterns. I see patterns in the way this person prepares, what they do, how they pair or post, whatever the pattern is. And when you're observing people before you get on the piste against them, can you observe those patterns and then come up with a strategy in your mind to take advantage of them? That's when you're fencing at the highest level, in my opinion. And that's why we pay attention to what the other fencers do before we get on the strip, to see if there's some advantage we can gain. And the other side is you try to minimize or hide your patterns to the best of your ability. We all have them. We all have them. I have them. I've been fencing since, I don't know, for a long time. I can't make a circle 6 to save my life. Right? I just can't do it. But every now and then I show it so people think I'll do it, right? But in reality, you're gonna get 4 and 7 from me, right? But these are the things you have to do because everybody's watching, and you have to realize that one thing I've told a lot of people, fencers and non-fencers alike, I personally believe fencers are some of the smartest athletes in the world. They're observant, they're stubborn, they're driven, and the best ones are highly observant. They can tell you what you do wrong. And we tell each other constantly, nonverbal cues, pick up on that. Other people are watching you as well. They're doing exactly what I'm suggesting you do, and they're doing it to you. So try to hide those intentions and mask them as best you can so they don't know when they're going to happen.
Well, fencers have to be intelligent. I think the referees have to be possibly even more intelligent. You have to be seeing two things at once. Not just what actually happens, but the intention of the fencer, what they usually are doing, and kind of hedge your bet. So I'm pretty sure that, yeah, okay, that's good enough for the attack from Cassara, or oh, there's that preparation again, and Miles is a little bit ahead. I don't mind a little broken time. I don't mind he pulls his arm back a little bit because he starts with the feet so early.
Right.
What I want to do is actually, this has been a lot of fun, Derek. I want to go back and see what Garrick Meinhardt does with Cassara. And if he's winning in the box with the feet and then flicking over the back so that Cassara can't find his parries quite as well. So that's my next project. I want to check out Meinhardt versus Cassara.
I think that'll be a bunch of fun. Yeah, I mean, this is why our game is so fantastic. And this is why, because it never gets old, right? And, these two fence, again, it can be exactly a different result. And by the way, Cassara is going to do the exact same prep, and Miles is going to do all his actions, and it could be 15-6 Cassara. Why? Who knows, right? And so that's why our game is so fascinating. If it was easy, we wouldn't do it, right? We do it because it's hard, and it continues to be hard. It continues to be fun. I fence on Saturdays with a bunch of old guys like me, and it's a blast. And guess what? We're moving about half the speed that we used to move. We have some of the exact same faults in our game that we used to have, some of the same strengths, and it's still a blast. So the game is fantastic, and it requires so much focus, concentration, and coordination that I just can't think of a better game.
Yeah, and I can't think of a better guy to interview. Thanks for hanging out with me, buddy, and it's super fun. I hope that we can do this again.
Ted, it's always a pleasure anytime. Congratulations
Thanks.
on your success, and I look forward to seeing you at the Olympic Games in 2021.
2020 something. Thank you, partner. Hey, everybody, don't forget to like us on YouTube. Subscribe if you want. We're going to be making plenty of these videos for you guys to check out, tactics, refereeing, and everything that's cool about fencing. So thank you very much, everyone.